Hello everyone, and welcome to Health Tech Explorers. Today, we often think of medicines as something very specific. There is a pill for blood pressure, a drug for diabetes, and a treatment for allergies. But in reality, many medicines may have a second life. A drug designed for one disease can turn out to be useful for a completely different one. And in the past, these discoveries happened mostly by accident. Sometimes that happened in clinical practice, sometimes through careful observation, and sometimes only after the drug had already entered the market. That is how new indications appeared for medicines that were already known. In a way, medicine often worked like this. Someone noticed an unusual effect, then checked it, then confirmed it, and only after that added a new use. The history of medicines is full of surprises. Sometimes a drug is created for one purpose, and later it turns out to work in a completely different area. One of the most famous examples is Viagra. It was originally being developed as a cardiovascular drug, but during trials, researchers noticed an unexpected effect that eventually led to its new, much more famous use. But there is also another, more dramatic example: thalidomide. It was once used as a sedative and as a treatment for nausea in pregnant women, but later it was found to cause severe birth defects. This story became one of the most infamous drug disasters in medical history. And yet, thalidomide later found new uses. It began to be used in the treatment of leprosy and multiple myeloma, meaning in oncology and immunology, under strictly controlled conditions. And this is a very important point. Medicine often learns about new properties of old drugs, not when they are created, but later. Sometimes by accident, sometimes after years of observation. In the past, this was largely a matter of luck. Someone noticed an unusual effect, then testing began, then a hypothesis appeared, and only after that did a new indication emerge. The problem is that this path is too slow and too fragmented. There are thousands of drugs, thousands of diseases, and an enormous number of possible combinations between them. It is practically impossible for a person to manually go through all the options and figure out which drug might help which disease. This is where artificial intelligence begins to change the rules. The idea is that AI can analyze huge amounts of biomedical data and look for hidden links between medicines and diseases. It does not just look at the name of the diagnosis or the drug, but at deeper biological mechanisms, which proteins the drug affects, which signaling pathways the disease activates, where the overlap is, and whether clinical data already contains hints of an effect. What would take a person years to find, an algorithm can sift through much faster. This is the principle behind projects like Every Cure. It is a non-profit organization focused on finding new indications for already approved drugs. Their approach is based on using AI to analyze large biomedical datasets and identify where old drugs might have a new use. This idea is especially important for rare diseases, where developing a new drug is often too expensive, too slow, and economically unattractive for pharmaceutical companies. And this is where things become especially interesting. Big pharmaceutical companies usually focus on developing new drugs because that is more profitable in the long term. But when it comes to an old drug, especially a generic one, repurposing it for a rare disease is not always attractive from a business perspective. For patients, however, it can be incredibly valuable. If an existing medicine can help, then the path to treatment becomes shorter, cheaper, and sometimes safer. This approach matters even more for rare diseases. There are often too few patients, too few studies, and almost no financial motivation for large companies to launch expensive programs from scratch. But if an existing drug can be reused, it can shorten the road to treatment and make it more accessible. That is why drug repurposing is not just a nice idea, but a very practical way to speed up therapy where traditional development is too slow. At the same time, it is important not to overestimate AI. It does not replace evidence-based medicine, and it does not declare a treatment ready just because it found an interesting pattern. Rather, it helps generate hypotheses that still need to be confirmed by research. In other words, AI does not put a period at the end of the story. It opens the door. It shows where to look next. That is exactly why projects like this are attracting so much attention now. They turn what used to be a random discovery into a systematic search. In the past, a new use for a drug might be noticed by lucky coincidence. Now, algorithms can deliberately search for those coincidences across massive datasets, and that is perhaps the biggest shift of all, from chance to analysis, from individual observations to large-scale search, from luck to technology. If these approaches continue to be validated, many old drugs may indeed get a second life, and patients, especially those with rare and difficult diseases, may gain more treatment options. In that way, AI may become truly useful in medicine, not in an abstract sense, but in a very concrete one, by helping find what used to be lost in the noise of data.